this tutorial is going to be marker galaxy clouds on cardstock. I'm using 100-pound cardstock paper. You can use 60 or 70, but I just really like 100-pound cardstock paper. So I'm just drawing a random shape, kind of looks like a tree. You can do any shape you want. You can do a square, a circle, it doesn't matter. I just use pencil. And then we're going to go in with our first shade of pink. This is number R1, Coral Pink. And what I'm doing is I'm just making squiggly random lines. They don't have to look like mine. You can do any shape you want. We're going to make 2 clouds for this tutorial. I'm using the pointy end. The fine end of my marker, and I'm going to turn it over and use the brush end of my marker to color in the background here. So now we're coloring in the background. We're going to just start by following the line that we already made, and I'm coloring in little circles with my brush tip. This is the same color I've been using the whole time. So now we're going to color in the background. We're not going to color in the cloud itself. This is the sky. This area would be considered the sky. And how I color in the background with these Ohuhu alcohol markers is I color vertically, very, very slowly, up and down, and I slightly overlap my lines. Here again, I'm making my line thicker by going in little circles and just following the line that I drew initially. And we're just coloring in little tiny circles, following that line. And then we're going to color in the sky here. And again, we're doing long, slow strokes, slightly overlapping the first line we did. Every line I'm slightly overlapping the previous line. And you got to keep it moving. Never stop and do something else or pause, because the line will dry pretty quickly and you will see that line. It'll look like a streak. So you got to keep your hand moving, continuously moving. And then we're going to do the same thing on the last line. We're going to thicken it up a bit, go in little circles, follow the design we made. Yours doesn't have to look like mine. You can do any shape you want. And again, we're going to color in the background, which is the sky. And we're going to go up and down, slightly overlapping our lines. Now I find with cardstock, the white paper kind of shows through sometimes, depending on what thickness of paper you use. So I'm going to go over a second time and do a second layer of ink, just to make it a little bit more solid in color, so the white paper won't be showing through at all. This is a personal preference. It's up to you what you want to do. I also think it just kind of works better at blending in with the clouds to be a little bit darker, because you can see the white paper is showing through a tiny bit. So we're just redoing all of those lines again. Now I'm keeping this entire video in real time. I'm not speeding up any areas. This is the real time of me coloring. If you prefer me to speed up these moments where I'm coloring, not much else is going on, just filling out an area, let me know if you prefer me to speed it up, where you would just be able to pause the video until you catch up and then unpause the video, or if you prefer me to do the entire video in real time as this one is. You can really hear my clock in the background. So we're going with our second shade of pink. And what we're doing is we're just coloring little circles along the edge of that line. So we're kind of like putting half of the circle in the white and half in the dark sky. So we're like blending right down the middle of that line. So it's like we're blending the sky into the white with little tiny circles. With this tutorial, I've picked 4 shades of pink, and we started off with the darkest shade of pink. So we start off with the darkest, and we work our way down to the lightest shade, moving in towards the center of the galaxy cloud. Just going in little circles right down the middle of those lines. There we go. Then we're going to get our next shade of pink. Getting that out, getting that prepared, which is RV270 Shadow Pink. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to go in tiny little circles and we're just going to overlap the last shade we just did. Coloring circles, I find, is the best technique for blending in galaxy lines. Whenever you color in vertically or horizontally, I find that the blend isn't as nice or as smooth. So this is just my personal preference from my personal experience on when I have colored with horizontal to vertical, it doesn't look as neat. So I always do galaxy coloring with little circles. And the last shade of pink is RV260 Pink. And this one we're just going to color in the center area, blending all those light pinks together, filling in the white paper and just coloring that all in. I'm going to do the same thing on the second cloud, coloring it all in. And when you pick your colors, it's really important that you try to pick them as close to one another as possible. Try to pick the 4 shades of whatever color you're using. You don't have to do the colors I've used. You can use green or blue or any color you want. Now we're going in with the paint pen, Uni Posca. I'm using a 0.7 millimeter pin type nib. Now you can do this with the Jelly Roll pens or other paint pens. I just prefer Uni Posca because it's very juicy. I really like the ink from the Uni Poscas. And you can make big stars, little stars, depending how much pressure you add. The littlest stars, you just barely touch the paper. So you want medium stars, you add a little bit more pressure. You want bigger stars, you color in a little circle, more paint will be released. I find the Jelly Rolls and the Uni Posca pretty much work the same when you're putting stars on top of marker. I'm not really, how would you say, very knowledgeable about markers. Markers is a very new medium that I'm learning how to use. I'm more familiar with pencil crayons. So I'm just learning myself how to blend markers, how to do galaxy markers, galaxy with markers. So I'm basically just sharing with you what I've learned, trying to take my pencil crayon galaxy and learn how to do it with markers. So I'm basically just still practicing, still learning how to do that and sharing what I know with you guys. I had tutorials in the past that were really too long. They were almost like an hour in length. So I really wanted to make some shorter tutorials. And I've been working on a book. I've been writing a book to publish about my personal life. And I just really didn't have time to make tutorials previously. And I was getting hundreds of comments asking for more tutorials. And I wasn't able to have the time to do that. So now I have some time because I have finished the first rough draft of my book. So I've had some more time to do art now. And so I thought I'd hop back on here onto YouTube and try to get the tutorials that people have been asking for so long. I'm so sorry. I hope these are helpful to you. So here I'm just adding stars in the sky, which is the background, which would be considered the sky. And this can be on anything you want. You can color this technique on coloring pages. You don't have to draw the shapes. You could just find a coloring page and do this marker technique on cardstock paper. You will have different results with how the markers react depending on the type of paper you're using. I think I am going to do some marker galaxy tutorials on toned tan paper by Strathmore. I just prefer to work on that paper because it's just wonderful for pencil crayons and markers. And when you work with markers on the toned tan paper, you don't really get streaks as much as easily as you would on cardstock. So I will do some tutorials on tan paper also for anyone who's interested. And there you go. We're done the coloring, and there you have some marker galaxy clouds. I hope this was helpful. Bye. Thanks for watching.